Show, Phylicia Ayres-Allen and Malcolm-Jamal Warner. Featuring Family Ties stars Michael J. Fox and Tina Yothers. And also from The Cosby Show, Tempestt Bledsoe. Now, here are your hosts, Malcolm-Jamal Warner and Phylicia Ayres-Allen.
Malcolm, before we get started, I would like to take this time to say hello to our guest experts. Okay. These are people who have helped us develop questions and scenes that you'll be seeing tonight. From network radio program, The Learning Center, please welcome author and psychologist, Dr. Lonnie Carton.
And from Boston's Judge Baker Guidance Center, we welcome psychiatrist and consultant to my favorite TV show, The Cosby Show, Dr. Alvin Poussin.
We're going to be showing you questions and scenes. Now, when we show you a question, I want you to think about it very, very carefully and then write down your answer. If you have an answer form, just, circle the answer that you think is best. But keep in mind that there isn't necessarily a right or wrong answer. It's just the one that you think is best. And later on in the program, we'll discuss it with our experts and to see which answers they think are best, and then we'll show you how to score yourself.
We're also going to show you some scenes of familiar situations. You've probably experienced some of the same types of situations in your own family. Just watch the scenes carefully and look for some of the key points that are raised. Later in the show, we'll discuss the points with our experts, and hopefully, you'll have some discussions of your own. These scenes will not be scored, so you don't need to write down any answers. Instead, we'll be discussing them later.
All right, now let's get on to our first question, and our studio audience should look at the monitors. Our first question deals with the parent's feelings towards the child's friend. If a parent strongly dislikes his or her child's friend, should the parent discourage the child from seeing his or her friend? Oh, I better answer that one myself. I'm up here asking the question. Well, Malcolm, did you write an answer down, too?
Of course. Our next question should hit home with parents and teenagers. It is, the children are always tying up the phone at home. The parents should A, buy the kids their own phone, B, set time limits when each person can use the phone, or C, encourage them to do other things than talk on the phone. Just circle or write down A, B, or C.
Or D, throw the bum out. No. Well, you'd save money. No, I'm only kidding. A, B, or C. No D. Okay. Now here's a scene from Michael J. Fox and Tina Yothers from Family Ties. It raises some questions about kids and alcohol. Now remember, you don't have to write down an answer. Just watch.
Good Friday morning, chance. A minute away from 9 o'clock right now.
What are you doing?
Gonna pop open a cold one, have a brewski.
Well, then what are you gonna do?
Well, I'm gonna raise it slowly to my lips, partake in the smooth, frothy flavor, and probably belch. Got any more questions?
What are you gonna do when Mom finds out?
Hey, look, Jennifer, let me tell you something. I'm in college, okay? Everybody drinks beer in college. Mom knows that.
But you're not old enough to drink.
Look, it's my business, okay? It's not yours, and it's not Mom and Dad's.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I hope you have another brewski for Dad. Here he comes.
We'll talk to our experts about that situation. Our next question looks at rivalry among kids. Comparing one child to another is a good way for parents to promote healthy competition among children. Do you think that is true or false?
Well, we'll talk to our experts about that. Question number 4 brings up a point about relationships between kids and their teachers. Now, this is something that I've had to deal with, and I don't think it's an uncommon situation for many parents. If a child can't get along with a teacher, the parent should A, call a conference with the teacher and child, B, speak with the teacher in private, or C, discuss the situation with the child first.
If there are both boys and girls in your family, you know that conflicts can often arise about jobs around the house. In the next two scenes, Tempestt Bledsoe and I will show you this problem from two different viewpoints.
Hey, Mom wants you to babysit here Saturday night.
Me babysit? I can't babysit. I got plans for Saturday night.
Plans? You have no plans. I heard you strike out with Julie on the phone. You don't have any plans.
Oh, well, I can't babysit. That's girl stuff.
You're afraid of it, aren't you?
Me? Afraid? Ha! There's nothing to it. It's just that babysitting is for girls. It's to teach them how to be mothers. Guys aren't supposed to do it. It's not natural.
Well, Mr. Natural, we'll see what Mom has to say about it.
I don't care what she has to say about it. I'm not babysitting, and that's final.
Now let's see what happens when the situation is reversed.
Guess what? Dad wants you to cut the grass.
What? Why can't you do it? I can't cut the grass. What if the neighbors see me?
You're right. It'll probably give them a heart attack if they saw you doing something.
I'm serious. I can't cut the grass. It's unfeminine. Why does Dad want me to do it anyway?
Because I have to study. There's no one else here. There are people coming tomorrow, and Dad said so.
Well, I don't care. Mom doesn't have to cut the grass. My friends don't have to cut the grass, and neither do I. I won't do it.
Question number 5 takes a look at a situation from a child's point of view. Without their knowledge, a child overhears his or her parents arguing. The child should A, try to stop the argument, B, talk it over with the parents later, or C, keep it to him or herself.
Toughie.
Nah.
For our next question, the focus is on the parent. If a parent is concerned that his or her child won't make the team at a school, the parent should A, get special coaching for the child, B, work with the child, him or herself, or C, be supportive without putting pressure on the child.
That's a tough question because you know what? Parents have great expectations sometimes. Kids like to experiment with the way they look when they're growing up, and sometimes this is much to the dismay of their parents. Our next scene features Michael and Tina and raises that issue.
Nice shirt. But Donna have a garage sale?
First, Mom and Dad gave me a hard time. Now you started. Why can't I wear what I want to wear without getting a lot of flack? Sometimes I think Mom and Dad forget the way they used to dress.
Yeah, well, at least they learn from their mistakes. But hey, you're right. Gosh darn it, this is America. It's a free country. You should be able to wear whatever you want. If other people get a good laugh out of it, all the better.
Well, Mr. Blackwell, it just so happens that I overheard Mom and Dad laughing about some of the stuff that you wear.
What? What is wrong with what I wear? How can anybody laugh about what I wear? Boy, you oughta.
Now don't go away. There's more to come on Can We Talk.
Welcome back to Can We Talk? Please keep in mind that this is a family show. It's for all members of the family, so we do hope that everyone is writing down their answers.
I know I am. Is everyone in the studio audience writing down their answers? Okay, let's get on with the rest of the questions.
Okay, our next question brings up the issue of discipline. The question is, when reasoning with a child doesn't work, punishment is the best alternative. True or false? You say false. Okay, I'm gonna say what I say.
An unfortunate fact of modern life is the climbing rate of divorce. Because of that, many families are including step-parents. Adapting to these new situations can sometimes be difficult. Our next question deals with that issue. If a child resents being told what to do by a step-parent, the natural parent should A, encourage the two to get to know each other better, B, tell the child to mind both parents equally, or C, ask the child why he or she resents the step-parent. Sounds like Cinderella to me.
You should stop. Sooner or later, every child wants to know the facts of life. And many parents have a difficulty with having this kind of heart-to-heart talk with their child. In our next scene, Tina Yothers turns to her television brother, Michael J. Fox, for that information.
Well, what was it you wanted to talk to Big Brother about?
Well, I've come to a point in my life where I need to know the answers to all of life's questions.
Sure.
I want to know about sex.
Sex? You talk to Mom about that?
Well, she hasn't had very much free time to talk lately.
Dad, talk to Dad. Dad.
I tried, but he kept twisting the buttons on his shirt, and he told me to talk to Mom. I need your help, Alex.
Well, Jennifer, I think that's something that should be shared between parent and child.
All right, just forget it.
Getting a driver's license is a pretty exciting thing for a kid. It brings about a whole new freedom, but also a whole new set of responsibilities, and that concerns many parents. The next question is, if a new driver wants to drive friends to a concert, but the parents are worried about his or her safety, as all parents are, the parent should A, offer to drive themselves, B, discuss the dangers involved, or C, make the driver promise to drive safely. It's a tough question.
As is our next question. Again, dealing with divorce and the adjustments that children have to make. If a child gets upset when his or her divorced parent has a date, the parent should A, explain the need of the parent to date, or B, try to include the child whenever possible, or C, find out what bothers the child most about the situation.
I have no idea what I would do in that case.
And I hope you never have to find out.
In her role of Vanessa on The Cosby Show, Tempestt Bledsoe plays a girl with a talent for snitching. In this next scene, she plays that role all too well.
You told him, didn't you?
Told who what?
You told Mom and Dad that I got into a fight at school today, didn't you?
I may have mentioned that you were doing an awfully good job of hitting Davy Dunmire's fist with your face.
Well, thanks a lot. Because of you, I'm grounded for a week, snitch.
Well, don't blame me. I don't get into fights.
Until now.
Mom!
You and Tempestt are at it again?
Ooh.
What's a mother to do? Many parents encourage their children to get part-time jobs to make some extra spending money. This is a great way to teach children the merits of earning. But what about saving? I mean, if a child spends all of the money that he or she makes on a job, what's the point? The parents should, A, encourage saving by matching the amount a child deposits, or B, let the child do what he or she wants with the money, or C, discuss reasons for having a savings account. Now, if you say that the parent should give the child more money, I'm just going to erase you from the slate.
Oh, wow. And now we've come to our last question. It raises the issue of a child's right to privacy. If a parent discovers something harmful, such as drugs in the child's belongings, the parent should A, respect the child's privacy and say nothing, B, discuss what was found immediately, or C, keep a close watch on the child. It's a touchy issue.
I hope I never have to deal with that.
In the show we did once.
I know, but see, you're good. We have come to our last scene. And in this scene, Tempestt plays a familiar role of a child who didn't make the grade, literally.
I can't believe it. I get all A's and B's and they ground me for one stupid D. I don't even need math anyway. That's why they make personal home computers. If they really cared about me, they wouldn't have yelled at me. One lousy D, just one. You care about the other grades. I I shouldn't even bother with it if they're not going to appreciate it. Yeah. Why waste my time? Lots of famous people never finish school. I could be starting a career right now instead of worrying about some stupid math class. I'll show them. I'll show them.
Well, now it's time to find out how well we did. When we return, we're going to talk to our experts to see how they answered the questions, and we'll discuss some of the scenes, so don't go away.
Time for us to start answering some of these questions, and here to help us are our guest experts, Dr. Lonnie Carton from the Learning Center and Dr. Alvin Poussaint from the Judge Baker Guidance Center. Let's look at our first question. If a parent strongly dislikes one of his or her children's friends, should the parent forbid the child to see that friend, yes or no? If you answered no, give yourself 4 points. And if you answered yes, forget it. Dr. Poussaint.
Well, you can't just forbid a child not to see his friend because they will rebel, and they may have different tastes than the parents, and they have a right to choose their friends. On the other hand, if the friend is endangering your child or leading them into behavior that's destructive, I think the parents have a responsibility to discuss in a balanced way the problems with that particular friend.
Thank you, Dr. Carton.
I would agree. Forbidden fruit often leads to rebellion. Power plays between parent and children, I won't, you will, often are deterrents to communication, to good communication.
Thank you.
The next question was, the children are always tying up the phone at home. The parents should A, buy the kids their own phone, B, set time limits for phone use, or C, encourage them to do other things. If you said B, set time limits for phone use, you get 4 points. If you said C, encourage them to do other things, 2 points. And if you picked what I would have picked, buy the kids their own phone, no points, sorry. Dr. Poussaint, why do you think answer B was the best?
Well, I think that means that the family got together to discuss the problem and then worked out a plan and set limits for phone use. I think that's the best approach. I think the children are using the phone too much and not doing other things, that you should encourage them to have other kinds of activities. And if they want their own phones, then I think they should pay for it, that the parents shouldn't pay for it for them.
Dr. Carton?
Dr. Poussaint has said it all, except to you, Malcolm. I would say that the reason I think that the answer we chose as 4 is the best is because structure and learning to limit oneself is very important. It's the non-quick fix method of doing things.
In our first scene with Michael J. Fox and Tina Yothers, Michael is underage and is about to take a drink of alcohol, an alcoholic beverage.
Look, it's my business, okay? It's not yours, and it's not Mom and Dad's.
Okay. Hey, by the way, I hope you have another brewski for Dad. Here he comes.
Dr. Carton, can kids be realistically discouraged from drinking alcohol?
Some can, some can't. I would want to discourage my children and have tried to discourage them. I think there are 2 levels, however. First, I would say let's try to discourage them from all the projection of the media and the stars to drink. And the second level is, if they must, if peer pressure, whatever it is, encourages them to, let's at least teach them not to abuse drugs, but to use them responsibly.
Dr. Poussaint, how would you handle a minor who's drinking alcohol?
Well, I think that depending on how young they are, I think with really young children, 13 and 12, you really have to set strong limits because some of them do drink sometimes in high school, but also to discuss it with them, what it means and the risk involved in drinking too much because so many young people have been dying on the highways from drunk driving and etc. But I think you have to be careful here because there's also the rebellion factor. You don't want to push them further into it. So you have to handle it intelligently.
The next situation was, comparing one child to another is a good way for parents to promote healthy competition among children. False. If you pick false, 4 points. Dr. Carton, how do parents promote competition without pressure?
A good way to promote competition is to have the child understand that you want him to compete with himself rather than with other people or with his siblings. After all, we all begin this process, we're all different. And a safe way to compete is to try to compete with your best effort, and then you know you have a chance to win.
Dr. Poussin?
Yeah, also, if you compare children with each other, you can get one child hating the other child as well and setting up a lot of conflict. And you also make the child who you're comparing feel rejected and inadequate, so it's not a good approach.
Okay. Here's the question. If a child can't get along with a teacher, the parents should, A, call a conference with the teacher and the child, B, speak with the teacher in private, or C, discuss the situation with the child first. C, discuss the situation with the child first, give yourself 4 points. Or if you answered A, call a conference with the teacher and the child, 2 points. Or the alternative B, speak with the teacher in private, no points. Dr. Poussin, why do you think speaking with the teacher in private is not a good solution?
Well, I think that may be a good solution, depending on what the problem is. If it's a relatively minor problem, after you discussed it with the child, you can tell the child that you want to get some information from the teacher as well. The disadvantage is if you talk to the teacher alone, the child might feel you're conspiring against him or her, and there may be a problem in that. But it's not always a bad approach.
Yes, Dr. Carton.
In addition to that, the best thing that we can give children besides love is respect. And when you discuss something with someone else, regardless of his or her age, and I don't mean lecture, I mean discuss, actually a give and take, you are giving that kind of respect. The other part of that is we want to help children to solve their own problems rather than go through life solving their problems for them. And so to talk to the child might help him to develop strategies to solve his own problems or her own problems.
I'm learning an awful lot.
We all are.
Thank you.
Now let's remind the audience of the scene where I wasn't too wild about babysitting.
There's nothing to it. It's just that babysitting is for girls. It's to teach them how to be mothers. Guys aren't supposed to do it. It's not natural.
On the other hand, Tempestt wasn't hiding the idea of cutting grass either.
Guess what? Dad wants you to cut the grass.
What? Why can't you do it? I can't cut the grass. What if the neighbors see me?
You're right. It'll probably give them a heart attack if they saw you doing something.
Dr. Carton, is it fair to force kids to do non-typical jobs?
Absolutely. But I would say we should prepare them in advance. And in that particular scene, I would really have preferred your dad or your mother to talk about the jobs it needed doing rather than for the two of you to tell each other, which normally is going to get some conflict engendered. The best thing to have done in that situation is to talk as a family about the jobs that need doing and to assign them, change them around so nobody's shocked when those sort of things come about.
Dr. Poussin, what are the benefits of kids learning different jobs?
Well, I think it makes them more well-rounded. It gives them more skills, makes them more competent. And in this particular scene here, I think the question of sex role, traditional jobs that came up, that boys don't babysit and girls don't cut the grass. And I think that we have to begin to get away from that approach because males have to know how to take care of the children and learn how to be nurturing and be good fathers, and women have to learn how to be more self-sufficient around so-called manly activities.
Okay, thank you.
We're back with more answers when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back to Can We Talk? I'm on the other side of the audience now, and Malcolm has changed sides with me. So we're going to go to Malcolm, and he's going to ask and answer the question.
Without their knowledge, a child overhears their parents arguing. the child should A, try to stop the argument, B, talk about it with the parents later, or C, keep it to him or herself. If you said B, talk about it with the parents later, 4 points. If you said A, try to stop the arguing, 2 points. And if you said C, keep it to him or herself, no points. Dr. Poussin, why is B the best answer?
Well, I think if the child talks to the parents late about it, everybody's calmed down. The child has a chance to get out their feelings about it and a chance to discuss it. I think if you walk in on the argument, the child may find themselves in the middle, and all kinds of things may happen that's damaging to all of them. And then I think you just shouldn't keep things inside that are upsetting you, like the parents fighting, so that you have to talk about it within the family.
Okay. Dr. Carton?
Yes, keeping things inside is sort of like boiling water inside a Pyrex container and keeping the lid on. There's bound to be an explosion, and many times parents' arguments sound much worse to children than they really are. So it is important that the child talk about it with his parents.
Thank you. Phylicia?
Thank you. Our next question. If a parent is concerned that his or her child won't make the team at school, the parent should A, get special coaching for the child, B, work for the child, him or herself, or C, be supportive without putting pressure on the child. If your answer is C, be supportive without putting pressure on the child, give yourself 4 points. If your answer is B, work with the child, him or herself, 2 points, and A, get special coaching for the child, no points. Dr. Carton, why do you think it's better to just be supportive as opposed to working with the child oneself?
Because the focus here is who wants to be on the team. Does the child really want to be on the team, or does the parent want the child to be on the team? And what the best answer is for the parent to be supportive, because by being supportive, rather than going out and getting special help or saying, come with me every Saturday, I'll help you, you are taking pressure off of the child to try to do something which is a parental expectation rather than the child's expectation.
Dr. Poussin?
So if you discuss it with the child, there may be times that you want to get special coaching for the child because if the child wants it too, but it comes from the child and not from the parent alone. In those cases, I think there are many circumstances where children get special tutoring and coaching to enhance their skills and abilities.
Thank you.
Michael and Tina, parents both think the kids dress funny.
Why can't I wear what I want to wear without getting a lot of flack? Sometimes I think Mom and Dad forget the way they used to dress.
Dr. Poussin, how should parents express disapproval with their child's dress?
Well, I think that parents have a responsibility to talk to their children about appropriate dress and behavior. On the other hand, children have their different styles. Each generation goes through it. I think it's much more important to be clean and not smell bad than to have on clothes that are like a different style than grown-ups.
Dr. Carton, isn't it important for kids to experiment?
Yes, to a degree. And certainly I'd rather youngsters experiment with clothing than I would with drugs or alcohol. Possibly what is not operative in what we saw is that the parents should be honest with the children rather than telling one child something about another child. That's bad communication any way you look at it.
Thank you.
Our next question. When reasoning with a child doesn't work, punishment is the best alternative, true or false? If you've given the answer false, give yourself 4 points. Dr. Poussin.
Well, I think just purely punishing a child doesn't get you anywhere. Again, might cause a conflict. I think you have to look into the entire situation, and the best way to really change behavior is to give rewards for good behavior and not to punish like just bad behavior alone. So I think, and sometimes it takes kids time to learn from reasoning. It doesn't happen immediately.
Yes, Dr. Carton?
I certainly agree. And when you're talking about very young children, for example, sometimes if you get into a situation, I won't, you will, and you can't reason it out, Sometimes distraction is a good way. It's not punishment. It's just avoiding that particular issue and then coming around another time when people are more reasonable. So there are other ways besides punishment or immediate punishment.
The next question was, if a child resents being told what to do by a step-parent, the natural parent should, A, encourage the two to get to know each other, B, tell the child he or she must mind both parents equally, or C, ask the child why he or she resents the step-parent. If you pick A, encourage the two to get to know each other, give yourself 3 points, and if you pick C, ask the child why he or she resents the step-parent, give yourself 3 points. If you said B, tell the child he or she must mind both parents equally, give yourself 0 points. Dr. Poussin and Dr. Carton, you both agree on A and C. Why is B a bad choice? Dr. Poussin?
Well, I think just to tell the child to obey the step-parent is really passing by a lot of issues that probably should be discussed. That is, you have to find out what's going on. Those are very complicated relationships. I mean, the child may resent the step-parent for many different kinds of reasons, so you have to explore the question, and you have to try to build a relationship between the step-parent and the child, and not just order the child around.
And I would even say that the one which would have the natural parent encouraging a relationship between these two, having them get to know each other is a smidgen better, even, if we could do 3.5, than the one that says ask the child. I think it's important to ask the child, but sometimes when you ask a child something, you open yourself up to a tremendous amount of venom coming out that you as the parent who's between your husband and your wife and your child would have a great deal of difficulty dealing with.
Let's review this scene where Tina wants to know the facts of life but can't get a straight answer.
I want to know about sex.
Sex? Shouldn't you talk to Mom about that?
Well, she hasn't had very much free time to talk lately.
Dad, talk to Dad.
Dr. Poussin, should fathers as well as mothers be responsible for giving this information?
I think definitely. I think that fathers should talk more to their daughters and mothers should talk more to their sons about sex. This is a kind of a long-standing taboo that I think is old-fashioned and really interferes with healthy sex education within the family.
Dr. Carton, is it proper, is it good, is it advisable for sisters and brothers to be giving this information to each other?
Not as the first knowledge that they have. First of all, that young lady should have had parents talk to her long before the age at which she seemed in that particular part of the TV show. We've got to get to young people very early and provide them with good information on human sexuality. That was too late, and it should be done by parents and by both parents. And if the brother or the sister want to supplement each other's, or as we say in the trade, give a second opinion, that's fine. But that's the parental role.
Well, she may have had an acute situation that
Well,
she wanted information about.
but she had no preparation for her parents before, is what I'm saying.
Thank you so much. We'll be right back with more answers. Don't go away.
Welcome back to Can We Talk. Let's get right down to the last batch of questions. If a new driver wants to drive friends to a concert, but the parents are worried about his or her safety, the parent should A, offer to drive themselves, B, discuss the dangers involved, or C, make the driver promise to drive safely. If you pick B, discuss the dangers involved, give yourself 3 points. If you pick A, offer to drive themselves, 2 points. Or if you pick C, make the driver promise to drive safely, 1 point. Dr. Poussin, how do you feel?
Well, if someone has a driver's license, technically speaking, they have been approved for driving people. That is, you presume that they know about safety, otherwise they wouldn't have a license. On the other hand, sometimes young people are more reckless. So I think if parents are concerned, they should talk about the dangers and the safety features involved, to give them support in that. I wonder about offering to drive yourself. you can offer that. If the child wants to accept it, then fine. But if they object and want to drive themselves, and I would allow that, but tell them about the safety features and the dangers.
Dr. Carton?
I guess I'd be a mother who would offer to drive, figuring that I wouldn't sleep that particular night anyway, so it would be self-protection, really, for me to offer to drive. Obviously, I couldn't force my children. Sometimes I think when we offer young people things, they may more willingly take it than we assume they will.
Our next question. If a child gets upset when his or her divorced parent has a date, the parent should A, explain the need of the parent to date, B, try to include the child whenever possible, or C, find what bothers the child about the situation. If you've answered C, find out what bothers the child most about the situation, give yourself 4 points. If you've answered A, explain the need for the parent to date, 2 points. B, try to include the child whenever possible, or get it. You get no points for that answer, and I want to know why.
What, with the last no points?
Yes.
Well, there are situations, I think the way the question was posed, there are situations where you would include the child in the date, that you would go on outings and other things. There's nothing wrong with that at all.
But you might not have too many dates if you did it all the time, is what you mean.
That's possible. But this question implies that there's some conflict, that the child doesn't want their parent to date. And that's a complicated situation again, too. They may be jealous, they may be resentful of someone replacing the other parent and so on. So you have to discuss it with the child to find out where they are on that.
What that problem is.
Good communication means finding out causes, not treating symptoms.
In the scene with Tempestt and I, Tempestt tells the parents that I was in a fight, so I threatened her.
You told him, didn't you?
Told who what?
You told Mom and Dad that I got into a fight at school today, didn't you?
I may have mentioned that you were doing an awfully good job of hitting Davy Dunmire's fist with your face.
Well, thanks a lot. Because of you, I'm grounded for a week, snitch.
Dr. Carton, is it ever right to snitch?
Yes. If there is a danger involved, if you were my son and you knew that your sister were on drugs, or you knew that if I didn't know something as a parent, that person, your sister, would be in danger, certainly it's right to snitch. You see, there are secrets that have to be kept and secrets that should not be kept, and we have to teach children the difference between them.
How do you feel about that?
In this situation, I mean, Tempestt is snitching because she's trying to get you upset. She's not trying to help you. She's just trying to burn you and to hurt you and get you disturbed. So that kind of snitching, Tempestt has a problem as well that you would want to deal with.
And now, our question about children and money. If a child spends all the money he or she makes from a job, the parent should A, encourage saving by matching the amount the child deposits, B, let the child do what he or she wants with the money, or C, discuss reasons to have a savings account. If you've answered encourage saving by matching the amount the child deposits, give yourself 2 points. Or if you said let the child do what he or she wants with the money, give yourself 2 points. Or discuss reasons to have a savings account, give yourself 2 points. Now that is just ridiculous. Well, it isn't ridiculous, really. We said from the beginning that there are no right or wrong answers. It's what you think is best. Why do the experts disagree on this, experts?
Because we really need, in most of the questions, to have a little more information. I would go with encouraging the youngster by matching. But I might not be rich enough to do that ultimately, so it's a question of degree.
Dr. Bledsoe.
See, it's a question of what your values are and your responsibilities in educating children about, money and responsibility. So most people would agree, have a savings account. But there's some people who might say, the heck with that, take your money and let's go have a good time. It depends on how you see yourself in life and the future and whether you should be a saver or a spender.
Makes sense.
The next question was, if a parent discovers something harmful, such as drugs and a child's belongings, the parent should A, respect the child's privacy and say nothing, B, discuss what was found immediately, or C, keep a close watch on the child. If you said B, discuss what was found immediately, give yourself 4 points. If you said C, keep a close watch on the child, 2 points. And A, respect the child's privacy and say nothing, 0 points. Dr. Poussin, why 0 points for the last question?
Well, I think because the question implies that you would go into, you know, a child's room and, you know, search and invade their privacy and so on. On the other hand, there are ways that you might find out about drugs because you're doing the laundry. The parents are doing the laundry and something falls out of a shirt, a drug. If in that case, then you should discuss it immediately with the child. But I wouldn't recommend that if the parents have no reason to suspect drugs, anything else, that they go snooping around their child's room in the drawers and the closets looking for things. So I think there is a question about invasion of a child's privacy implied in that question that I would respect.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Carton, how would you approach the situation?
I might have to part ways with Dr. Poussin here. I certainly don't believe in invasion of privacy. I certainly don't believe in what I call snoopervision. But fundamental to me would be that child's safety. And these choices are never easy to make. If they were, we'd be communicating better. To me, the child's safety would be the first thing, and I would talk promptly. I wouldn't lecture, wouldn't scream, I wouldn't yell, but I would have a very long heart-to-heart talk about what I have found.
Mm-hmm. Tempestt is upset because her parents grounded her for bad grades. Let's take another look at that tape.
I can't believe it. I get all A's and B's and they ground me for one stupid D. I don't even need math anyway. That's why they make personal home computers.
Yeah, treat a child that way causes resentment. I remember my father, I would bring home a report card, and he would look at all the good grades, like 90, 95, and he would look at me and say, how come you only got a 75 in English? Yeah. And I would get furious. Yeah. And he would say anything about all of the good grades, and I think that's what's happening to Tempestt in that betrayal. And
Sure.
They could rebel and then even do worse the next time. I think you have to support the good grades and then try to get a help with the poor grades.
We might, as parents, remember that when we were in school, we didn't get perfect grades. That's a very sobering thought that we have to keep in mind.
I like
we
that.
were not perfect. You like that?
I'll use that one.
I wonder why you like that. Now add up your scores. We'll see how you did when we return. Welcome back to Can We Talk? If you've added up all the points on your answer sheet, we're going to take a look and see how you did. Now, please keep in mind that this is only a general idea of where you stand. Remember that even our experts don't always agree, and our main goal is to get people talking and thinking when conflicts arise. There are rarely any clear-cut answers.
Now, look at the total score on your answer sheet. If you scored from 30 to 44, you're in a green zone, which means you're doing a pretty good job communicating.
And if you scored 15 to 29, you're in the yellow zone, which means you could use some help.
And if you scored from 0 to 14, you're in the twilight zone. No. No, seriously. You're in the red zone, which either means you added wrong or you really should look into improving your communication skills.
In just a minute, we'll tell you how to get help if you need it. But first, let's take a look at how our audience scored. We had 94% in the green zone. That's right, 6% in the yellow zone and 0 in the red zone. And I think that maybe it's secret information, but I'm going to let it out. I think there are probably 3 people in our audience who had 100%. These are 3 model human beings.
Hey.
Isn't that great? Isn't that great to know that you're sitting in good company, that you're moving in perfection? I think that's great. Dr. Poussin, what advice would you give to people who feel they need help improving their communication skills?
So I think the first step is for them to try to improve communication by deciding to talk to each other, respect each other's feelings, look at the other person's point of view, and try to keep the tempers down, not hold grudges, and so on. If they adopt those simple rules, they might improve their communication. If they're still stuck and they're having problems, I think there are many different kinds of counselors, social workers, psychologists, psychiatrists, family therapy clinics, and so on that can really help to facilitate communication among family members.
Dr. Carton?
Let me agree with Dr. Poussant and say it in another way. However we scored, it's very important for good communication that we listen to our youngsters, not just talk to them or talk at them, but listen. Let them know we want to listen, want to hear what they have to say. That we love our youngsters, and that means we don't ridicule them. We try to avoid shouting and yelling and comparing, and that we let them know we think they're capable. And even when we have to punish them, and we must, we punish them in a way in which we say, we punish what you did wrong, but we still think you're capable and we still love you.
We'd like to thank our experts, Dr. Lonnie Carton and Dr. Alvin Poussant, as well as Michael Fox, Tina Yothers, and Tempestt Bledsoe. And Malcolm, you were marvelous, too.
Thank you, and you were too, Phylicia.
Thank you. And we'd also like to thank our studio audience for joining us tonight, and thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Can we stop?